Welcome everyone. Hope all is well where you are. It's a beautiful morning here in the redwoods, and I've been really appreciating this time of retreat. And we'll start with some meditation. Just find a comfortable position. Just relax and notice how your body feels. Notice what your mind does when you start to meditate. Mind automatically wants to go to the breath. And I use the breath to relax, to settle, to rest. Just check in on your mind and see if there's any tension there. Don't try to get rid of it, just observe it. And also with the body, just noticing if there's tension in the body. Can offer the suggestion to relax. And we've come together to talk about death and dying. And just notice what those words bring up in the mind. And if we're observing what's happening in the body and the mind, then that part that's observing can be peaceful and relaxed, even though the thinking mind, the body, or we might think the reactive mind, the conditioned mind might be worried or frightened or anxious or whatever. We want to train ourselves to step back from what we're feeling and what we're thinking and observe it. Just be present with it without judgment, without criticism. And when we observe whatever is arising, then we want to, we will naturally, if we're in that neutral, observing, watching, not wanting to get anything, not wanting to get rid of anything. In that space, we will observe with wisdom. Is seeing, knowing. What we're really doing is letting go of our views and opinions and our conditioning. Just being open, allowing the space, the silence. We might say just being aware, that conscious awareness. And it's in the silence that wisdom arises, insight. Sometimes it can seem like it's a voice coming from somewhere else, but consider that that might actually be reality. Always available. And when we put our attention on what it means to die, we recognize that it's the body that dies. And then the body isn't self. And we can let go of our identification with the body. I had an experience this week with something I've been noticing for a while is changing in my body. And I sent a message to my doctor and said, is this something to be concerned about, or is this just weird? And my care team wrote back and said, well, it's unusual, but just watch for these three other things. It's probably not anything to be concerned about, but if these other things happen, then let us know. So, of course, this can be used for practice, for investigation. It's like, okay, so what if this means the worst thing I can think of? What would that be? And just letting the silence be there. And the immediate answer, the response in my mind was, what if I only had 3 months to live? Really try to take that in. What would I do differently? Well, I would want to spend as much time as possible with family and friends. All of you are included in the friend category. And do what I can to help before I go. I probably wouldn't think very much about long-term health care or taking care of my body very much, just whatever it needs for the next 3 months. Wouldn't think a lot about cleaning the dead wood out of the forest or those kinds of things, all that stuff to make the future safer. Wouldn't need to put attention on that. But I would want to care for the people I live with, spend time with them. So how different is that from what I do now? Practicing, seeing if there's a way to support it. It's not much different. Practice with everything that comes along. Be present and aware. However long the body lasts is okay. It's not a problem. And we can't just say that. It's got to be felt. And we might not always be in a space where it feels like that. Sometimes the body will react and the mind, the conditioned mind will react with fear and anxiety. But then we can just step back and observe it. Maybe you like the phrase, I do, Ajahn Sumedho uses, it's like this. It's like this to feel afraid. It's like this to cling. And as we do that again and again, many times a day, whatever's coming up, we really start to get that clinging is painful, stressful. And we don't have to do it. We can let go. We're not letting go and just being in oblivion, because there's the true nature of reality right there. A wholeness that we can never achieve in the conventional world. A kind of ultimate safety. We don't have to be special in any way or have any kind of powers. We're just conscious, just aware. There is one important requirement, though. And one important requirement is to let go of the sense of self, the ego. It's not like we get rid of it. We just step back and observe it. Know that it's not really who we are. All that conditioning, our personality. It's not to put it down. There are some beautiful personalities here, but they're not the real you. They change. Everything that changes, we don't want to cling to that. It's stress, it's suffering. So we investigate on what doesn't change. And we can hear what the Krubhajans tell us about that, but those are signs, those are pointers, where to put our attention. But then we come to know it for ourselves by our own investigation, by our own letting go and allowing that wisdom to arise. The wisdom never goes away. The truth is there to be felt, to be known, to be understood all the time. It's available. And at some point, talking about death becomes inspiring. The miracle of moving, of consciousness moving from this body when it's the right time, when the body is completely wound down to the end of its karma. And we can learn from the body the whole time we're in, you might say, possession of it. The whole time we're using it. Up until the very last breath, or maybe the very last whatever connection to it. But what we learn is how to be free of all attachment, all clinging. All desire. Desire to get rid of. The desire to be. To be something. What if we know that we don't have to be anything at all? What happens when you hear those words? What happens? What comes? What fills the space? Just observe it. And I will gently bring the meditation to a close. Today we're going to talk about two suttas. We're going to start with Dīghāvu. And this translation is primarily from Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi. And I've just changed a few things to make it a little more readable for me. So this is from the Samyutta Nikaya, the book 55, which is the book, the Samyutta on stream entry. And it's number 3, Dīghāvu, which is someone's name. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Rajagaha in the bamboo grove, the squirrel sanctuary. Now on that occasion, the lay follower, Dīghāvu, was sick, afflicted, gravely ill, and then he addressed his father, the householder Jotika. He said, "Come, approach the Blessed One, pay homage to him in my name, with your head at his feet, and say, 'Venerable Sir, the lay follower Dīghāvu is sick, afflicted, gravely ill. He pays homage to the Blessed One with his head at the Blessed One's feet.' And then say, 'It would be good, Venerable Sir, if the Blessed One would come to the residence of the lay follower Dīghāvu out of compassion.'" And his father Jotika replies, "Yes, dear." And he approaches the Blessed One, pays homage to him, sat down to one side and delivered his message. And the Blessed One consented with silence. Then the Blessed One dressed and taking bowl and robe went to the residence of the lay follower Dīghāvu. He then sat down on the appointed seat and said to the lay follower Dīghāvu, "I hope you're bearing up. I hope you're getting better. I hope your painful feelings are subsiding and not increasing, and that their subsiding, not their increase, is to be discerned." "Venerable Sir, I'm not bearing up. I'm not getting better. Strong, painful feelings are increasing in me, not subsiding, and their increase, not their subsiding, is to be discerned. Therefore, Dīghāvu, You should train yourself like this. I will be one who possesses confirmed confidence in the Buddha thus. The Blessed One is an arahant, perfectly enlightened, accomplished in true knowledge and conduct, fortunate, knower of the world, unsurpassed leader of persons to be tamed, teacher of devas and humans, the enlightened one, the Blessed One. I will be one who possesses confirmed confidence in the Dhamma. The Dhamma is well expounded by the Blessed One, directly visible, immediate, inviting one to come and see, applicable, to be personally experienced by the wise. I will be one who possesses confirmed confidence in the Sangha. Thus, the Sangha of the Blessed One's disciples is practicing the good way, practicing the straight way, practicing the true way, practicing the proper way. That is the four pairs of persons, the 8 types of individuals. This Sangha of the Blessed One's disciples is worthy of gifts, worthy of hospitality, worthy of offerings, worthy of reverential salutation, the unsurpassed field of merit for the world. I will be one who possesses the virtuous conduct dear to the noble ones, unbroken, untorn, unblemished, unmodeled, freeing, praised by the wise, ungrasped, leading to samadhi. It is in such a way that you should train yourself. And Dīghāvu responds, Venerable Sir, as to these 4 factors of stream entry that have been taught by the Blessed One, these things exist in me, and I live in conformity with those things. For Venerable Sir, I possess confirmed confidence in the Buddha, in the Dhamma, in the Sangha, and I possess the virtuous conduct dear to the noble ones, unbroken, and so on, leading to samadhi. Now, what I find interesting here, maybe the most interesting question of this whole session today, is what does it mean to live in conformity with those things? And I want to know what you think. You know, having this confirmed confidence in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, and Bhante Sujato translated as experiential confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. So what is it, do you think, that is like to live in conformity of these things? What does it look like? I mean, when it comes to the virtuous behavior, that's pretty apparent. We know if we're keeping the precepts or not. It's one of the beauties of the way the Buddha states the 5 precepts. It's clear. But what about the other things? How do you live? How does one live? I mean, when I think about the words in conformity with, it means it's living in a way that this confidence is clear, affects your life. So what do you think? Any thoughts? Marilyn?
I think it means attending meetings like this. I think it means having Kalyanamita that you can consult with and see if you're off track. I think it means meditating regularly, being kind and generous whenever you can, mindful and noticing when you're not kind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
all that sort of stuff. There's probably a lot more details
Mm-hmm.
that you could
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Marilyn. Paula?
Uh, I think going back over the past year, um, the first thing was to take refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. But that, as we have discussed in terms of like knowing that there's no self, which is a different topic, is more of a sort of like a faith, but trying to get to the direct knowing of that would be what I'm looking for now.
Yeah, because it's true that the importance of these words like um, experiential or confirmed confidence, it's not just a taking it on faith. And, faith, when we translate sadha as faith, it's not this blind faith kind of thing anyway. But this is not just something we adopt because we're told we should. And maybe it starts that way. Maybe in the beginning we say, okay, this sounds good to me. I want to like dig further into this. But of course, the whole idea of, having this experiential or this direct knowing of the Buddha. And like when we read that list of characteristics, that's not really so clear to me anyway. The real meaning of Buddha, awakened mind, you know, really understanding, really seeing, really living from the truth of the way things are, the Dhamma. That's so this experiential or confirmed confidence, we have to really understand what Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha mean, what it is. It's not just words, it's not just ideas. It's a whole, I don't know, kind of transformation of the way we see the world, who we think we are. Yeah, thank you, Paula. And
what came to mind for me is those things you say, but then what popped in my mind is to ask, where is my weak link in this? Where is it that is my challenge? And the thought that came to mind was, one of the steps of the Eightfold Path, which is path of understanding, and it's about right speech and right thoughts in relation to people. I mean, there are a lot of people around here, and it's very easy to if not speaking out loud, to be separating myself, othering somebody because I don't like the way they did X.
right.
Even if I don't speak it, but sometimes it might be about speech, but it's certainly about my reaction. And if I hold the truths, then, well, and the moment the goal is to catch it and to understand. So,
Yeah, so one way to look at this, so when the Buddha says this to Dīghāvu, he says, I will be one who possesses. So it's like making this determination that we're going to be this, we're going to live this way, we're going to take this in, we're going to investigate this. And one way to think about how does one live this is to look at all the ways in which the Buddha says the noble disciple does it this way. The noble disciple thinks like this. The noble disciple acts like that. And this is what you're saying is, when am I not acting like a noble disciple? Because of course our conditioning is not generally, all in the same line as noble discipleship. But this is what we're doing. This is what the practice is. It's not just meditation. It's an important component, but it's to really, really observe our own tendencies, our behaviors, our habits, and the fact that in this world, there's constant evaluation and criticism. We're constantly making judgments. We like this, we don't like that. We like this person, we don't like that person. We approve of this, we don't approve of that. Now, that doesn't mean there isn't skillful and unskillful action, because there is. When we talk about the precepts, for example, obviously that's important for living in this world without creating more trouble. But then looking at, okay, how do I look at this from the position of choosing to be a noble disciple? What part of this can I choose? What part of this can I cultivate? How do I make this the core of my life, the reality? Thank you, Anne. Satina?
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think the word that just came to me is this, that you were speaking, is that I come back to, is the sense of it, the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha being a field of trustworthiness.
Mhm.
Um, and I think you mentioned today, but also recently, that I found so much relief is that you don't have to be anyone. You can just hand it over to this field,
Mhm.
Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. And I think in terms of how it allows me to practice, I think it allows for so much creativity in practice.
Mhm.
Um,
Yes.
that, what else? That, and another thing it reminds me is every time I'm aware of suffering, I can see, oh, this is like a sign for me. I try to think of it as someone used the word spiritual curriculum. Like, oh, this is an opportunity to tell me something. It's something I need to like learn from. And the most inspiring thing, I think, with the Buddha, with Buddhism, is that whenever the suffering arises, you are not meant to just stay with that suffering, can always be transformed. And so the way out of suffering is how I practice. Thank you.
Yeah. Beautiful, Satina. Thank you. Regina?
What came to mind was I love that image to follow in the footsteps of the Buddha. And so it's the same question. So what does that really mean? And so I got up this morning and said to myself, what would the Buddha do today? Or something like that, as like, how would I follow those footsteps? And I try to do this in very little actions and then see if these actions really change me, sort of see if there is a result. Is there more freedom, or is there more narrowing or something like that? It's just, I've heard that a long time ago, but that image makes a lot of sense to me, to return my mind to the Buddha. So what does that mean for me? How is that if I return my mind to the Buddha and if I don't go on my own assumptions or my own interpretations or something like that, and to see the sutta as, teachings in the real sense. It's like the instructions as to what to do, as however failingly I put it into practice. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Regina. This idea of turning the mind to the Buddha, this is really what's meant by awareness. This is really what's meant. the Thai, in Thai they call it the Puru. It's another word for Buddha. It's Thai for Buddha. You're coming back to the view or the way of being from that awakened or aware place, with that wisdom informing it, that doesn't come from our thinking mind. That doesn't come from our training in this life. It might be in the training in our life, depending on our experiences, our conditioning. But there's something much more trustworthy than that. And yeah, to see the Buddha Dhamma Sangha as trustworthy, as you're saying, this is so beautiful to really develop that confidence in being able to step back, observe, like that click back, click up, you're stepping back from the feelings, from the thinking, from the conditioning, even from our fundamental bodily reactions, and observing, clicking up, looking at it from that place of wisdom, of seeing it all in a much bigger context, and being able to let it go. Thank you for that. And it's interesting that you're talking about the footsteps of the Buddha, and I know what you mean. But the phrase that I was reflecting on early this morning was this idea of seeking what the masters sought. And I looked it up. It originally comes from a Japanese poet from the 17th century, where he said, "Don't follow the footsteps of the masters, but seek what they sought." Don't seek to emulate them. And that's not what you meant. You meant like do the practice, But that doing of the practice isn't just to do what the Buddha did. And as you well know, it's to seek what the Buddha was searching for, what all of the great teachers are searching for. I remember a story once of, I think it was Ajahn Mun, who was practicing in the forest outside this village in the hill country. So the people didn't know anything about the Dhamma. And they were very skeptical of this stranger there outside their village. And they were watching him. And he's just, sitting in silence or walking back and forth. And finally they approach him and they say, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm looking for this precious jewel. And it's inside." And it's like, that idea of seeking what he was seeking. It doesn't mean that it's, guaranteed if I go to the forests of Thailand and walk back and forth and sit. But those things help. Maybe, like you said, observing, does this what I'm doing bring more freedom, more peace? We have to see that for ourselves. What is it that this body-mind complex responds to and needs in order to let go? Thank you, Regina. Olive?
For me, it's investigation and the 7 factors that encompasses the journey for me. That my intuition, it becomes very strong, and and the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha are my refuge. And so that's what comes up for me. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Olive. Okay, and we have more from the Buddha here. He goes on to say, therefore, since you've got that in place, Dīghāvu, established upon these four factors, factories, that's funny. No. Oh, I'm being presented with more coffee. I don't know if this is going to help. Make things worse. We're going to see, we're going to observe. Okay. Established upon these four factors of stream entry, you should develop further 6 things that play a part in realization. Here, Dīghāvu, dwell contemplating impermanence in all formations. So impermanence in all sankharas. Perceiving suffering in what is impermanent or anicca. So impermanent, it's all, as you know, it's not just that it's going to end or change, but it's that it's constantly changing. It's unreliable. So there's suffering. Perceiving not self in what is suffering, letting go of the ego, letting go of the sense of ownership, letting go of the clinging, and perceiving that letting go, that abandoning, perceiving fading away, the being sick and tired of this whole calamity, perceiving cessation, the letting go, the relief, the freedom. It is in such a way that you should train yourself. So now, Dīghāvu says, Venerable Sir, as to these 6 things that play a part in realization that have been taught by the Blessed One, these things exist in me, and I live in conformity with these things. For, Venerable Sir, I dwell contemplating impermanence in all sankharas, perceiving suffering in what is impermanent, perceiving not self in what is suffering, perceiving abandoning, perceiving fading away, perceiving cessation. However, the thought does occur to me after I'm gone, may this householder Jyotika not fall into distress. He's worried about his dad. And it's, then Jyotika, his dad, says, don't be concerned about this, dear Dīghāvu. Come now, dear Dīghāvu, pay close attention to what the Blessed One is saying to you. So there's a couple of things that I think are interesting about this. First of all, I would again really reflect on those 6 things. Really reflect on understanding them more deeply than intellectually and seeing what comes up. The example I gave you about something changing in my body and reflecting on, well, what would I feel like if this is almost the end? You know, if I get something is unfolding that's going to put an end to this body, and just sit with that. It's like, what arose at that point was it's fine. I don't have to really do much. Oh, I should update my advanced directive a little bit because I think I'd rather suggest that the body is composted. That's not in there yet. little things that don't really make a lot of difference. But, you know, what if I'm in a, because this can happen too, what if I'm in a state of mind where I feel fear, where I feel anxiety? Can I just step back, observe it? It's like this. It's like this to feel fear. It's like this to feel regret. It's like this to feel whatever it is that's coming up. Can I see it with wisdom? Can I see it from this perspective of impermanence, suffering, not self, letting go, experiencing the fading away and cessation? You know, how does one live in conformity with this? And then his dad is like, listen to the Buddha, even though his son just said, like, I already have this. But I'm imagining, like, why is he saying, just don't worry about me, just listen to the Buddha? I mean, it's so beautiful. Obviously, his father has a deep understanding also of the Dhamma. And he's not really worried about his son. He just wants the very best for him. And I can imagine that when you have the Buddha sitting there by your bedside, talking to you, even if you understand what he's just said you should do for training, even though you know it completely, there's something very special to take in about the Buddha talking to you. The beautiful selflessness, the beautiful focus on what really matters, not the, oh dear, yes, I'm going to lose you, I can't take it. You know, we've probably all been instructed, don't do that at the bedside of your dear one that's dying. When you feel like that, you know, take it offline and be with it. Be with it. It's understandable. It's okay. But there's more than that to reality. Then the Blessed One, having given this exhortation to the lay follower Dīghāvu, rose from his seat and departed. And not long after he left, Dīghāvu died. Then a number of bhikkhus came to the Blessed One, paid homage, and sat down to one side and said, Venerable Sir, that lay follower named Dīghāvu, to whom the Blessed One gave a brief exhortation, has died. What is his destination? Where has he been reborn? And the Buddha said, the lay follower Dīghāvu was wise. He practiced in accordance with the Dhamma, and he did not trouble me on account of the Dhamma. It's interesting how this often gets thrown in. This guy didn't ask a million questions. He just went off and practiced. We've had the experience of showing up with a whole group at the Kruba Ajahns, and they'll listen to our questions for a while, and then they say, now stop, go practice, which is so critical. And then the Buddha said, Bhikkhus, with the utter destruction of the 5 lower fetters, the lay follower Dīghāvu has become one of spontaneous birth, which means he was reborn in the divine abodes. There are 5 levels of heavenly rebirth, divine abodes, due to attain nibbana there without returning from that world. So he's going to be there until the full realization. Any questions or comments? Deborah?
So I'm not sure about all I'm going to say, but when reading the Anālayo book, right, the Mindfully Facing Disease and Death and preparing for today, I was kind of blown away where he says the Buddha was aware of the body of Dīghāvu became sick. That just like stopped me in my tracks. In the translation that
Right.
Anālayo does, right? It just as the body is like, whoa, that really was different for me. And the other thing is, way
Yeah.
back in another chapter, he says something about just because you have a sick body, you don't have to have a sick mind.
Mhm.
And that has really stuck with me. And I think what you've just been talking about in reading this sutta is like what it takes not to have a sick mind, right?
Mhm.
Like that's it. So I just really, I wanted to say it out loud to you.
Yay! That's what I got to say about that.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, it's the body that gets sick. It's the body that dies. We can try to help it, as much as possible, make it comfortable, but that thing is not you. You can't control this body. I can't control it. I can't keep it from doing weird things. It's gonna do what it does. I can help it. I exercise. I try to eat what it. Can handle. Yeah.
Yeah, and then this whole idea of like a sick mind. So I have, a client who's in a lot of pain, and I was talking to him about this, and I'm not sure what he thought of a sick mind, but it's not like you're mentally ill or, wallowing in something. It's that you actually have this practice. You have the precepts, and you have all of these perceptions, and you have all of this impermanence and not clinging. And yeah, it's just beautiful teaching.
Yeah. Yeah. When the mind is ill, it's full of anxiety or fear or really attached to the body, really attached to the things that are going to fall apart, that are falling apart. That's the illness of the mind. Greed, hatred, and delusion. And we don't have to be ill in mind. Step away from that and observe it. Yeah. Thank you, Deborah. Paula? Oops, you're muted.
Sorry, I clicked it, but I guess I didn't. I'd like to go back to the sentence where it says, "For Venerable Searle, I dwell contemplating impermanence in all formations, perceiving suffering in what is impermanent, perceiving not self in what is suffering, perceiving abandoning, perceiving fading away, perceiving cessation." So I was looking at that last night, and I'm like, okay, well, he's talking about impermanence, dukkha, not self, but the way it's presented here and the way you actually talked about it was it was a little different. Like you're seeing dukkha in what's impermanence, and you're seeing not self in what's dukkha. And then as you're exploring that, it seemed like what you were saying, let's say you have something that you're thinking about, like maybe the possibility of some test being telling you have 3 months to live or something, then you interact with that and somehow you do the abandoning, the fading away, and the cessation of that. I'm not sure if that's correct, but I get a little confused when I'm in meditation even and going into abandoning. I don't understand how to do that. So I was wondering if you could talk a little more about that.
Well, the first thing is, I have talked about it and I've guided meditation taking us through these different perceptions. However, in my practice, I really, over the years, early on, would be very focused on the impermanence, first of all, to really take in the fact that all of these, everything, all these sankharas are impermanent, changing, that everything All that is mine, beloved, and pleasing will become otherwise, will become separated from me. All those kinds of reflections. And this way of saying it, as it is in this sutta, is the same as the Buddha talks about it in the Four Noble Truths. Or no, I'm sorry, the Anattalakkhana Sutta, the Sutta on not self. It's don't copy my Pali pronunciations, please. The system was not designed for that. However, be that as it may, this idea that because we see that it's changing, because we see that it's changeable, that it's unstable, unreliable, that we recognize that if we attach to that, we'll suffer. If we don't want it to be that way, we suffer. If we don't want it to change, if we want it to change, it doesn't change. If we don't want it to change, and on and on and on, there's suffering. We're recognizing that. And then from there, the Buddha says, just look at this. Look at this body. We're talking about how we can't control it. It has its own comment. It's doing its own thing. This can't be me. There's no way this is a self. There's no way this is what I can say is myself. There's no self in this. I may like this body, I may not like this body. Doesn't matter. I'm kind of stuck with it for this particular phase of time. And even time is a conditioned thing. Even words are conditioned things. Everywhere you look, listen, smell, taste, touch, think, is all conditioned things. To really take in that reality and then spend your time in what doesn't change. What is that? That's what the Buddha was seeking. That's what we seek. To really get that sense. Does your awareness change, or do you just like drop it and come back to it? Drop it and come back to it. When you come back to it, is it there? Is it solid? Is there this shift into what's spiritual truth? This morning we were talking about, how it's in all religions. It's in everybody's reach. You don't even have to reach. It's right here. I was sharing with Alex this morning how, the place where I trained, ministry school, they talked about the golden thread that runs through all religions. And the teacher there would say, the religion, it's not that all religions are the same. I don't know if can you see my hand? It's like, if the religions are all at the tips of the fingers, they meet. And where do they meet? They meet in two qualities: virtue and the mystical experience. Why is that? Because we're all working with the same spiritual reality. And it gets expressed differently, it gets perceived differently, it gets distorted differently, because we're human beings and we're caught up in this conventional way of seeing. But that doesn't change the true nature of things. And it doesn't withhold it from anyone. So when you're looking at anicca, dukkha, anatta, really taking that in, and then noticing when you feel that letting go, that abandoning, giving up, giving away. The same, that pahana is the Pali. Say, when do I loosen my grasp on it, on whatever it is, these sankharas? When do I notice the viraga, the fading away, the I'm sick and tired of this? Oh, and the relief, the cessation of that clinging. It's not something we can make ourselves understand, but we can continually, it's like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Can we lead the mind to the water of the Dhamma? We just keep leading the mind back to the water of the Dhamma. We see it in this way, we see it in that way, little here and there, and then eventually we start to, wow, that's really true. It's really true that none of the trees, these great trees in this forest I live in, are going to live forever. They're not going to stand there. I mean, they seem so strong. They're so solid. The other day, we have a trail now through the forest. It's kind of a little loop trail. And I walked the trail, and I was, you go through the forest. It's the width of our property, kind of winding through it. And Paula knows because she just walked it the other day. And I went from the south to the north. When I was in the north, I heard over towards the south this pop, 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 pop. This is a tree falling. It's like, wow, it's right over there. Let me go see if I can see where it's at, if I can find it. So I went back around to the south side, and sure enough, it fell right over the path. Yeah. Yeah. What if I was right there? It was a huge madrone tree, just like came out at the roots and fell. This is the reality, the conventional reality that we live in. When are we going to be tired of chasing what's unreliable, what's unstable? Are we going to take this grasping and clinging and trying to be somebody all the way to our grave? If we do, then we come back again. Then you got another whole set of khandhas to deal with. Do you really want to do that, or are you sick and tired of it? Okay, next sutta. Okay, this is mostly Bhante Sujato's translation. I wove in some things from Bhikkhu Bodhi. At one time, the Buddha was staying in the land of the Sakyans near Kapilavatthu in the Banyan Tree Monastery. At that time, several mendicants were making a robe for the Buddha, thinking that when his robe was finished and the 3 months of the rain's residence had passed, the Buddha would set out wandering. Then Mahanama, who we've heard of in the suttas many times, he was a cousin of the Buddha. He was a Sakyan. He heard about this and he went to the Buddha. I bowed, sat down to one side and said to him, I've heard that you're leaving. And he added, I haven't heard and learned in your presence how a wise lay follower should advise another wise lay follower who is sick, suffering, and gravely ill. What do you say to someone who's dying? Mahanama, a wise lay follower should put at ease another wise lay follower who's sick. Now, wise lay follower is upasika, is a noble one. You're going to remind them, be at ease. You have this experiential or confirmed confidence in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. You have the ethical conduct loved by the noble ones that leads to immersion, to samadhi. When the wise lay follower has been put at ease has put it easy, other wise lay follower who is sick, suffering, and gravely ill with these 4 consolations, then you should say, are you concerned for your mother and father? And if they reply, I am, then they should say, but it's your nature to die. Whether or not you're concerned with your mother or father, you'll die anyway. It would be good to give up this concern for your mother and father. Now, what does it do to think like this? I mean, it sounds a little harsh or something, maybe. You're going to die anyway. Like, why worry about them? But to try to take this in, like, yeah. Instead of, I mean, what my mind wants to add here, maybe this is more cultural or something, but what my mind wants to add here is my worry about the people I love doesn't really help them. If I've got 3 months left, when they're interested in the Dhamma, then I will want to support them with whatever I can from the Dhamma. Can't do anything if they don't want to hear the Dhamma. It's going to have, they're on their own. That's their choice, or maybe they don't want to hear it from me. That also is fine. But worrying about them isn't going to help them, help me. It is wise to let go. But we're letting go really of our own problems. We're not like abandoning them. We're letting go of our clinging problem. I'm going to die whether I'm clinging or not. Well, the body's going to die when it's ready to die, and I can't do a damn thing about it. Not really. But I can guide the mind to the Dhamma instead of the clinging. I can observe whatever comes up and not be in it, not be stuck in it, not be caught up in it. So then if they say, okay, I've given up concern for my mother and father. So obviously, as in so many places in the suttas, there's some time in here. You're really sitting with someone. And they already have a lot of wisdom. This is someone who's, they've already taken a lot of the Dhamma in. They're already living it. They're living in conformity with it. And they let go. And then you say, are you concerned about your partner and your children? And if they say, I am, you take them through the same process. Letting go of them, letting go of our attachment to them. You're not letting go of them, really, letting go of your attachment to them. And then the question, are you concerned for the 5 kinds of human sensual pleasure? This one kind of trips me out because I would think by this time, I would hope not, being too concerned about sight, sound, smells, tastes, touches, thinking. But yeah, of course, it's all that superficial or simple. And then they say they are, and then you say, well, the heavenly world is better. And this isn't a bad contemplation, like when you're dying, it's like putting your mind on what's beyond, not on what's here in this world, letting go of the clinging to what's in this world. Whatever it is that we're still attached to, letting go of that. And so in this sutta, they're going through the Buddhist cosmology of heaven realms. But of course, our conditioning is different from that. Maybe there's only one heaven realm that comes into your mind and your imagination. This is all imagination anyway. It doesn't say any of these people have visited these realms like the Buddha did, or Moggallana. But instead, just walking this person through the cosmology that they're familiar with in their culture, these different heaven realms, the four great kings, the Yama Devas, the joyful Devas, the Devas who love to create, the Devas who control what is created by others, the Devas of the Brahma world. So this is Brahma and his retinue. They go better and better and better. And the sensual pleasure gets better and better and better. Or the ease and the joy of life there is better and better and better by stage. So you kind of bring them up to that point. I mean, from what I've heard, the Brahma realm is not about sensual pleasure, actually. It's about the Brahma Viharas. It's like a complete, residing in the four divine abidings. Well, that is very nice. That's a good idea here too. In fact, when we were doing the guided meditation earlier, if we want to call it that, and I talked about really letting go, and what is it that fills that space? For me, it was metta. I wouldn't even when I use the word metta, it's too limiting in some way. There's just this love just came up. So these Brahma Viharas are very natural to us. Every human has that access. The spring of Brahma Viharas might be covered over by a lot of gunk, but you can pull it away. Okay, so if they reply, okay, I've done so. Now I'm at the Brahma world. Okay. And then they say, well, friend, the Brahma world is impermanent, not lasting, and included with conventional reality. Now, Bhikkhu Bodhi calls it identity, included with identity. Now think about that. This is the place I got to when I was early on in being exposed to the Dhamma, just really reflecting on my concept of God and why I was imagining God. And I realized it was because it confirmed my own identity. The more solid I could make God in my mind, the more solid my sense of self was. God had a plan for my life. There's so much ego there, so much want to cling to a sense of self. So is this all identity? All this idea of heaven and hell? Think about it, or don't think about it. Reflect on it. So then the wise lay follower, the wise lay person says to the dying wise lay person, it would be good to turn your mind away from the Brahma world and apply it to the cessation of conventional reality. Apply it to the cessation of identity. And Bhikkhu Bodhi has this footnote, as this word, Sakaya Niruddha, like Nibbana. It's the ending of the sense of self. It's the ending of the conventional world. This injunction is intended to turn the mind of the dying lay follower away from rebirth in the Brahma world and direct it towards the attainment of Nibbana. Attainment is not really the best word. It's like the realization of Nibbana. Because it's not really an attainment. Attainment kind of suggests I'm becoming something. I'm attaining something. And it's the wrong kind of perception. And then the Buddha says, if they reply, I've done so, then there's no difference between a lay follower whose mind is freed in this way and a mendicant whose mind is freed from defilements. That is, between the freedom of one in the other. There's no difference. And in some texts, I think it's because there are different textual versions. There's even a mendicant who's known this for 100 years. If this happens at the point when you're dying, there's no difference in the freedom. Whether you're lay, monastic, doesn't matter. So, sometimes people ask, what do I do when I'm at the bedside of someone? I just had this question come up recently. Let me see if I can, I think I can pull up what I wrote to them. She was taking care of her father as he's dying. And she asked for practical advice. She actually sent this to the Anumodana team because she got this lovely thank you for her offering. And she said, do you have any helpful insights for the dying process? I've been with my dad this past week and I think the end is near. It's so painful. So I happened to be on that thread and I could write back to her. And I said, as we care for a loved one who's dying, it's good to recall the good things they've done in their life. And even if we think they can't hear us, to remind them about these good qualities and actions that they've done. Reflect on the universal truth that every birth must end in death, that we all pass through this process. Recognize that the body has its own karma, its own timing. We can't make this be the way we want it to be. Our role is to be present, help them be as comfortable as possible, and at the same time be present with our own feelings, our own process. I realized when my mom was dying that she and I were both waiting for the miracle of death. That death is a miracle in the same way that birth is a miracle. The living being or the life force or the consciousness, however we think of it, enters a body with birth and leaves that body with death. How amazing. We can know that it's good for our loved one to die because the body is given out and still feel sadness and grief. This is natural. The intellect has the rational experience. The heart feels the pain and the loss. Feelings will come and go. Thoughts also come and go. The practice is to accept whatever arises, know it for what it is, an impermanent passing experience, and let it go. When we're with someone who's dying, we have this precious opportunity to observe what they're going through and observe what we're going through. We have this opportunity to reflect on the truth. All of these things we've been talking about. Living in this body, we can learn from it every step of the way. It's changing. It's deteriorating. We get to feel it, we get to observe it, and there is the awareness that's there all the time that we just have to step into it or let go of what occludes it. It's okay to feel whatever we feel. By being present with it instead of being drawn into it, instead of being awash in it, we can learn from it. We can learn from this body until consciousness has left it. Don't look to stop that process early. Don't look for someone to stop that process for us. We want to use it. You know, maybe that wise lay follower realizes Nibbana there at the last minute. The Buddha said you can become completely free, realize Nibbana at the moment of death, shortly after death, in the interim, upon the landing, shortly after the landing. Stick with it. And we lay in the pattern, the habit of stepping back and being aware, being in that kind of slightly altered state of observing, of being present with, of being open to and letting the Dhamma flow through us. Making that our go-to response, whatever's happening. And use the practice of meditation in all of its different forms, investigation, all of our work with our sila, our moral virtue, generosity, all of the components to support that ability to become still and see the way things are, to feel the way things are. We can't really describe the way things are. It's like this. When we're beyond the words, when it's unfiltered like that, when it's kind of like, I feel like words just kind of try to box it in, label, they're just labels. I like what Ajahn Sumedho says, they're directional signs. All of this, speaking of the Dhamma, these are directional signs. The actual experience is so much more rich. So what is the bhavana? What is the training? It's not just meditation. It's all of this. It's living this. It's coming in our lives into conformity with this. It's really experiencing it directly ourselves. Letting the wisdom of the Dhamma fill us. Fill our experience. Be the guide for everything. And never being ashamed or afraid or regretful, because we learn from everything. Or more the case, it's not that we never feel those things, it's just that we don't have to believe them, we don't have to identify with them, just observe. It's like this to feel regret. It's like this to be attached. And that's what causes us to let go. It's a hot coal. Time to drop it. Okay. Thank you for your practice.